Welcome back to another. I'm going to describe songs for you that I've written. And one of you guys asked for Undressed. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I apologize in advance if you hear my dog barking because I'm currently at my house and she has the tendency, she's a rescue and she has the tendency to bark when she hears noises in the hallway. So bear in mind. I went through my hard drive and I found a demo, and it's clear that I've recorded it into my phone during spring or summer because you can hear the birds singing, which is quite nice. And so let's just listen through that first. Describe the world how you would like to shape it. I want to be the hand that is raised by your arm. I'm naked on my own without our secrets. You will miss out on how I made you forget that. The worst I love those birds. It's really nice. I guess I must have written this, or not written, but recorded this when I lived in East London. And in summer, if you open the windows, you could really hear the birds singing because we lived right by a park, so it was very nice. So it must have been then. I must have just plugged in my amp and just did it there, I guess. Yeah, so this is from my EP, which I released in 2016, as you can see here. And it's again within that same time that Survived were written, so it very much evolved around my previous relationship. And this one is a very raw kind of breakup song, but it also touches upon how like insecure I was at the time. I mean, I still have loads of insecurities, like we all do. But at the time, I felt extremely insecure about just about me in general, and within a relationship, I felt like if that relationship went, then everything I had was kind of gone, which is so not true. Like, I had amazing friends and lived in a great flat, and you know, just starting my music career properly. So, but you know, you get so kind of lost in love, I guess, and when that's kind of taken away from you, it's a real knock on your confidence. And I feel like that really reflects in this song. It's called Undressed because I felt like very naked, quote unquote, at the time, like very vulnerable. And when he left, I felt like he just ripped all the clothing with him. And yeah, it was very, very far down at the time. And I'm going to speak more properly about the lyrics later, but for now, let's just talk a bit more about instrumentation. So I recorded this EP with Nick Rayner, who also did my album, Reflection of Youth album. And I met him through my management. One of my managers that I still work with today said to me, "Oh, I know this guy, Nick. I think that you guys might hit it off. He lives in Cambridge. He has a small studio. Are you interested in chat to him?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, okay, let's see." And Nick and I had a very awkward video call, and I spoke to him about that recently, actually. And we were like, "Wow, that was such an awkward call." Like, we were both like, "Oh, hi," because we can both be a bit awkward, you know, at the start when you meet someone. Him more so than I. So, but anyway, got through that conversation. He was like, "Yeah, come to Cambridge. We can try some stuff out." Came there, very simple setup studio. Like, he had like a piano. He had Prophet synth, I remember, and some like little bits and bobs. Just a very humble home recording studio at his then mom's house, because he still lived at home at the time. Because we were both like, I must have been 24, something like that, and he was similar age or younger. Yeah, and then we just started off me showing him songs that I were really into, because at the time I didn't know anything about production. I didn't know how an EQ worked. I didn't know how synths work. I didn't know anything, nothing. So for me, it was important to me that I met a producer that I could speak to in a way where they understood me, even though I didn't know like the production terms. So I got that off Nick really quickly. Like, when I said, "Oh, I want a sound that's like noisy but soft," or like, "I want like this vocal line to be like in your face," and he got it like straight away, like the way I was explaining things. So that to me showed that it was a good match. And we did White Water first as like a trial, and I really enjoyed that process, and I thought, yeah, this is the guy I want to work with. So yeah, and then Undressed, I knew I wanted it quite simple. I didn't want much stuff going on. So at the start of this song, you can listen, it's literally just me singing. And I remember when we did this, I was like, I wanted to be very honest as we can do it. So I love that you can hear me moving around and getting ready to play. Yeah. I love that little bit. It's just like me moving the strings. So at the start of it's just me singing and playing.
Wrong,
you know,
choice. Show me how I
at the time I was very much into lows overdrive on my voice, so that's why you get that kind of telephone-esque sound, which is throughout, and there's a lot of that reflection of youth too. I'm starting to kind of be braver enough to move away from it, and I think it just stems from, yes, I thought it was a cool sound, but also I didn't feel that confident about my voice, so I was like, okay, let's just pack like effects on it and stuff like that. So that's why I chose that here. You dance through the life I lead, or I need you to. So yeah, so all the way through to the here, I think. Continue. So here, like the backing vocals come in, and again, I remember I didn't want like, I was very into like unison simplicity at the time, so I didn't want loads of bells and whistles on the song. You know, at the start of it, it gets a little bit more messy at the end. But yeah, so every branch grown by you, I'll follow every branch grown by you. So yeah, there's some brass. And I knew I wanted brass on this EP. There's some on the other songs as well. And Nick knew these brass players. I think it was like a trumpet player and I want to say French horn. I don't quite remember. It's so long ago. At least I remember it was at least a trumpet player. And they just came to my apartment in London, and Nick had took with him this little portable studio equipment, so like a couple of mics and his sound card and his laptop, and he just set it up all in my bedroom, and so all of these brass is just recorded in my bedroom. And one of the guys who played brass was really funny because he came from an extremely classical kind of way of working, so whenever I tried to describe to him in my terms, like, oh, can you be a bit more fragile here, or can you play a bit off pitch here, and he just could not understand it. He was like, what do you mean, like, oh, can you like write it down? I'm like, no. So that was quite interesting, but he definitely did get there in the end. So yeah, there's like brass playing that line, do 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 do, like, yeah. Because I really wanted to follow that guitar line, dun 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 dun, because I thought it was quite like a cool rhythm, so it'd be cool to like emphasize that. And then you hear that little clickety sound. It's like clickety, clickety, like you can hear that comes in here. I think it's here. You hear that kind of accent? So that's a funny story. So that's Nick had this little toy piano. You know, those little that makes like really horrible sound, but they look kind of funny because they're like a tiny little piano. He had one of those, and I picked it up, and it made that sound. I was like, oh, that's quite a cool sound. He's like, yeah, it's a bit broken. I was like, oh, that's a cool sound. So I just held it up doing like that to make it have that rhythm. And he's like, let's record that. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's basically a broken toy piano used as a percussion instrument. And we do play a bit of it too. You can hear it. I think it's further at the back. There. That's like on the toy piano with like loads of reverb and stuff. Because basically what I wanted to do towards the end, and Nick and I were like writing loads of weird sounds coming in and out and creating kind of this chaotic moment. And I wanted it to be quite chaos at the end because I wanted to, as I spoke to before about Survived, how I love to tap into connecting the instrumental part with the meaning of the song. So like here I'm like kind of falling apart after I've put all my emotions out there and gone through everything. So that's kind of what that represents at the end here. And I think it just does a fade out. Yeah. Then it fades out. And those vocals, I used to love doing this thing where I sang a vocal line, like improvising something, and then I told Nick to mute the one I just did, and then I sang on top, and then mute the one I just did. So I never heard what I did before. And by doing that, you create this natural kind of off tonality. Sorry, that's my dog barking. You get that kind of off kind of tonality of like dissonance and coming in and out, and you know, she's a crazy dog. And I love that. I love that contrast, and I love how it, you know, almost fights with each other. And I thought for me that was quite cool, because as a singer, I tune in quite quickly to what's in pitch or not in pitch. So that was a good way to kind of walk away from that. And you can kind of hear. So all of this stuff I didn't hear, the one I did before, basically, to create those those textures. Yeah. So then lyrically, it's a very, it's just, I don't know. This song is again just literally very honest and shows a lot of vulnerability for me. And I think at the time I was quite insecure. So when my ex broke it off, I felt like everything I had was just gone. Like I didn't have any kind of value left. I didn't know what to do. I felt confused. I felt lost. I felt like everything was just done. However, I tried to put on like kind of an angry tone, like a bit of a, oh, but yeah, F you, like, because here, like, cowardly, you made me lose my power, taking off my hands without me saying a word. So it's like, you're being a coward, like, you're the one leaving, you're a coward. But now looking back at it, I was the coward because, like, I didn't see at the time that we were very bad for each other. So my ex was actually the one that was brave, because he's like, this is not working, like, I'm leaving. But, you know, that was just my insecurity speaking out and thinking, oh, you're a coward, like, this is a good thing we have, and, you know. And silently I tried to walk towards the beauty that I had until you made the wrong choice. So it's basically me, you know, I felt I had a beauty with him, but then he, in my eyes, he did the wrong choice by leaving. So then I lost all my beauty. But I'm still trying to, like, how can I explain it? So silently I tried to walk towards the beauty that I had. Silently I tried to walk towards the beauty that I had. So basically, like, at the time we were together, I was struggling, he was struggling, he was going through depression, it was bad. And I was struggling with things too. So, like, in our relationship, we were both trying to find this kind of happy place, but it's just, we were just so negative for each other. So I was thinking that I felt really beautiful when I was with him, but actually we were both just dragging each other down, really. And we've spoken about this after, like, we had a good relationship, it's not that, but the end was so toxic, like nothing like mental abuse or anything like that, but we were just both just not a good match. It just was not good. And then show me how I'm meant to dance with the life I lead. I need you to guide me. So that's again me being like, I don't know how I'm going to survive on my own. I need you to help me get through this. How on earth am I going to get through everything? And this next verse I find quite interesting because it shows, like, I wanted to show some sort of desperation. And bear in mind, like, every time when I write lyrics, still to this day, there's an element of exaggeration in it. So, like, you know, because I find poetically it's more beautiful if you just really make it full on. Because I was like, whoa, did you feel this way? And I was like, well, I always exaggerated, but there's an element of truth in all my songs. There's an element of truth, but I always make it sound grander and bigger than what maybe it really is. So describe the world how you would like to shape it. I want to be the hand that is raised by your arm. So this sentence, I want to be the hand that is raised by your arm, I was really stuck on that line. I had something else, I don't remember. So I can't really take credit for this line. This line actually Douglas Dare wrote, because I came to him with this song. I was like, oh, I want to create this verse where I'm talking about, I just want him to lift me up. I want him to help me with everything I do. So he came up with that line, and I think it's such a beautiful line. So I asked if I can take it. He said yes. I'm naked on my own without our secrets. You will miss out on how I made you forget that. And then I'm going to get into what I'm saying next. But I'm naked on my own without our secret. So that's again, I don't have my armor. I don't have the safety blanket that we had together. So the next one is quite interesting. There are so many ways of dying. The worst one is to continue on living. So obviously that's extremely dark. And now when I play this song, I find it really uncomfortable singing that line. At the time, I even thought that's really dark. But the reason why I chose that line is because I was watching a movie at the time. This movie here, I'll find it. This Must Be the Place with Sean Penn. Now, this movie is about an old rock star played by Sean Penn who becomes extremely depressed because he's no longer a big rock star. He's a failed rock star now. And he's so upset by it that he can't even perform anymore. Like, he's so far down. And it's a beautiful film. It's a bit weird. It's strange, and he plays a very weird character. But I did enjoy the movie. And there's this scene where he speaks to a friend of his, and they're sitting at a coffee bar or a diner. And he says this line. He says, there are so many ways of dying. The worst one is to continue on living, or, you know, that kind of, he said, I don't know if exactly word by word, but that's basically what he was saying. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I remember I had a little notepad and I just wrote it down straight away. I was like, that's such a beautiful, beautiful line. And I had it lying around. And then when I wrote this song, I was like, oh, this might fit with this song. And I thought, oh, but it's really dark. And I was kind of scared of putting it in because I didn't really feel, I feel bad, but I didn't feel like I wanted to die. Like, no. And thank God I've never been there, or I hope I'll never get to that point in my life. But I just thought it was a beautiful line. And I feel like sometimes in art or poetry or whatever, there are some lines or artwork that are really distressing to look at or listen to, but they're so beautiful that you kind of go with it anyway. And that's how I felt with this line. I thought it was so beautiful because it's so morbid and dark and twisted, and it's clearly said by a person who's very far gone and down. But yeah, I do find that sentence difficult to sing now when I do it live. I've sometimes even thought about just saying, show me how I'm meant to dance through the life I lead, to sing that twice because I'm so like scared of saying that sentence. But yeah, maybe it's just something every time I perform it, I should think, oh, it's just Sean Penn saying this. And then the rest is self-explanatory, really. Continue on. I'll follow every branch grown by you. You know, I'll follow every branch grown by you. It's like, I'll just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's basically like the last like kind of drip of desperation. So yeah, this song is quite intense. It's very, you know, about that breakup and how I felt completely lost and didn't know what to do and just desperately trying to get him back. It's almost like trying to get him back song. It's almost like I wanted him to see this and be like, oh no, I should take her back. You know, thank God he didn't, because, you know, I'm glad. I love the guy, but he's not meant to be my partner. But yeah, I hope that was interesting. And obviously there wasn't that much to talk about instrumentation wise, but lyrically, obviously, it's a big factor of this song. And let me know which song you want to hear about next. And thank you so much for being here with me in this community. And it's lovely to share with you guys. It's fun for me too to go through these songs again because I forget them. And then I go like, oh yeah, that's what we did. And we were at Nick's studio and all this stuff. That's fun. So yeah, thank you so much again. And please spread the word if you think people might be interested in this. And I'll speak to you very soon.